Hello and welcome to the Happy Farm D podcast. I am your host, as always, Dr. Alex Barker, founder, CEO, and coach at the Happy Farm D. Today, I'm joined by Shantel Houston, who is an extraordinary entrepreneur and pharmacist. She'll be sharing in her journey how she landed this role of a full-time Houston RX Consulting and how she got into it. This is such a compelling story, and I think inspirational for anyone who's maybe considered of doing something on the side and how to grow that over time and transitioning into it. Shantel tells all and talks about how one thing led to another. And I think this can be inspiring for you in that sometimes all it takes is saying yes to one thing that leads to the next. And so with that, I'll let Shantel tell her story. Oh, and just as a side note, both Shantel and I have minor colds, so please excuse the little bit of the raspiness of our voices. And I've got my coffee. You
Good.
too?
Got my emergency
What do you have? What are you drinking?
or vitamin C emergency.
um, yeah, you have to maintain optimal health when you're the sole CEO of the company, right? You're the marketing, you're the sales, you're the execution, you're everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, how do you like it being on your own now?
I love it. I love the freedom. I love easing into my day. I think, we have capitalism, obviously, that we're born into, and I just don't subscribe to it anymore. So I like the freedom of being my own boss, doing my own thing. I'm still working hard. Obviously, I have full days full of work. I'm doing more than I probably was doing before, but it's on my own time. So I'm able to schedule calls when I feel comfortable with having them. I'm not having 5, 6 calls a day. My calls are very productive. They have agendas, they have meeting follow-ups, all these
Yeah.
things that I feel like in the corporate world or just in work in general, we're just used to operating in inefficiencies or operating just because of the way things have been done. And the way my brain works is like it doesn't work well with inefficiency. So when I see a way to improve a process or to do something different, do something better, I immediately want to go to that. So that's what brought me to entrepreneurship.
Mm.
As a student, I was interested in pharmacy ownership because of that. Because I know when you have like a chain pharmacy, you have to go through corporate, you have to go through all these levels to get things done and implemented and changed. And I
Yeah.
just have like a change mindset. I'm always ready to do something different to shift.
Have you always been that way?
I have. I was selling candy in middle school and high school. I
Really?
was that kid. Not supposed to, right? Uh,
Right. Yeah,
I
it's
kept on
illegal to
walking
make
across.
money on public property.
Exactly. But I had to pay for basketball, and my
Yeah.
mom, it was like AAU, was like $400 a year. And my mom was like, I'll take you to Sam's Club and you can get this box of candy bars. And that's what I think that's where it all started. And I just really liked being able to make my own money. I had kids
Mm.
giving me $5 on Monday so they could get candy bars for the rest of the week. And I was like, it's outrageous. You're not even getting a deal. You're just you're just
Sure.
paying in advance. So I've always had that spirit about me. When I was in pharmacy school, I did Lyft and Uber when it first started out. So Lyft was giving drivers like 100% commission, and that was
Oh,
awesome. I did tutoring. I started doing websites and marketing in pharmacy school for one of the kids that I tutored. His mother owned a pharmacy,
mm.
and she compounded feminine wellness products, and she needed help with marketing. And I had never used Wix before, but there I was making her a Wix website just because I could, figure stuff out,
Yeah.
make it better than she could or faster than she could.
Yeah, and that's what business is all about, helping people get results faster than they would be able to on their own, right? Whether that's fixing your plumbing, which I regularly seem to have to hire a plumber to help out with, or in marketing in your case.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Was it was it stumbled upon this idea that you could help with marketing for businesses?
I really don't remember why I started helping her or how I proved myself to be able to help her. I just started helping her. I think I
Mm,
saw what she had done and I just realized like I could do it. Oh,
you
well,
could
when
do
I
it.
was an undergrad, actually, I worked at the Emory University athletics department. So I played basketball 1 year at Emory. And then I was like, whoa, this is D3. I don't have a scholarship. I'm not doing well in my classes, so I had to
Mhm.
stop playing basketball. But I stayed with the athletics department, and I was in the marketing department. So I was the marketing student manager
Mm.
eventually. But I started off making flyers on Microsoft Word, and they just looked better than other people's flyers. So that's essentially where I started.
And it sounds like you did a residency, correct? For 1
Yep.
year?
hmm
And then after that, it's kind of been an interesting journey to see, at least from a LinkedIn perspective, like how you jump from thing to thing to thing.
right.
Um, and it sounds like it was just one opportunity after another being presented to you and or like I don't know how much you did the seeking and how much, things were just kind of like, "Oh, we need you to help with this." What was that like?
So as far as my residency goes, I did a UNC PGY1 community-based pharmacy residency.
Mhm.
That was with Moose Pharmacy was my site that I was placed at. So as a student, again, my interest in entrepreneurship brought me to NCPA. As a student, I thought entrepreneurship in pharmacy equals pharmacy ownership. That's all I knew. So that's what
Yeah.
I was seeking out. I got involved with NCPA. I was the intern my second, going into my third year over the summer, 10 weeks. Had a great experience. The National Community Pharmacists Association, for anybody who doesn't know what NCPA is, had a great experience learning about all of the amazing things independent community pharmacists could do for patients. Learned about CPESN that summer, Community Pharmacists Enhanced Service Networks, and learned about all of these independents banding together, offering enhanced services to improve patient care. And I was drinking that Kool-Aid. So at NCPA, everybody talked about Joe Moose Pharmacy, this everything I heard of. So I
Mhm.
was like, I need to meet Joe Moose and I need to do the residency. So I met Cody Clifton, which was close enough, and then I met Joe Moose, and then I ended up doing the residency. I
Yeah.
knew UNC was a great residency site. I also looked at like VCU, and I looked at Iowa and these different states that I knew had really good community independent pharmacy practices. So that's where I was like seeking when I did my community pharmacy residency, was that um, in involvement in ownership, involvement in a community pharmacy where you get to start your own services based off of the needs of the population, the needs of your community, needs of your own unique patients.
Yeah. And so going through that clinical slash sounds like a little bit of business related residency, you then decided to create your own like consultancy while also having a full-time job. Is
Yeah.
that how it
So
is that how it worked or was it different?
I was the only person in my residency class who did not have a job lined up at like residency graduation in like June or July. So I
Mm,
was like, well, let me make a website. Of course, right? Every entrepreneur is like,
yeah.
let me make a logo, let me make a website, let me start off with something. So I
Mm,
I forget if I was doing anything during residency when it comes to marketing, but I know that the Minority Pharmacist Entrepreneur Conference first um, had a virtual conference in I think 2019. And during that conference, one of the speakers, Dr. Norris Turner with THCQ Consulting, he put out a call. He was looking for a 1099 contracted employee to do different things, graphics, presentations, blog writing, different types of things, and the things that I was interested in. So I reached out to him and started working with him. So he was like my first client. But when I started that business after residency graduation, that website, it was basically like my portfolio online of here's all the things that I can do.
yeah.
And actually, I went around in Charlotte to like 6 independent pharmacies to show them here's what I did during residency. Here's all the CMRs and all the MTMs and all the flu clinics and all the clinical programs that I was in charge of. And I did like this nice portfolio. I got it bound. It had, it was very nice.
Yeah,
And
sure.
1 out of 6 was like, well, I want to hire a pharmacist. And I was like, go to Handcuffs, right? I was like, well, lock me up. So that's how I started my 2 years at Premier Pharmacy and Wellness Center. So right after residency, I did that and I got that job. I started that job in like September. So,
Mhm.
had a couple months to make my website and do all that, cool stuff. And then I think a year after working at Premier is when I met Dr. Walleen Bullard from the Minority Pharmacist Entrepreneurial Conference, which I'll refer to as MPEC RX from here on out. And that's when I met Norris Turner, and that's when I got him as my first client. So I've been working with Norris since 2019, I would say. So a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was doing his slide decks, social media posts, blog posts, anything creative I was doing for him.
Yeah. Yeah, becoming a social media manager in today's market is quite easy
Mm-hmm.
because there's a ton of work involved with it, right? And it's hard to manage it. It's hard to be always on social.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing I do want to point out to anyone who's listening is having a portfolio showcasing what you do is one of the smartest things you can do. It's a really advanced career technique. I'm so glad you figured it out, and your website kind of background, I think, lend itself well. You don't need a website. You just need some papers that
Mm-hmm.
show what you've done. Yeah, you can get a resume to do that, but it's better if you can show graphs, if you show profit margin, if you can show bar graphs that show the difference of your work over time, like anything to visualize what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 1 out of 6 for a job offer is pretty good, Chantel. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yep. I
Yeah.
mean, there's only like maybe 8 independent pharmacies in Charlotte. So I had to have one of them bite.
Yeah. Well, you did a good job.
Thank you. But yeah, that was huge. And I think I won't take all credit for that because when I was in pharmacy school, I went to University of South Florida, Tanaja College of Pharmacy. And one of the things we had to do there it was a longitudinal portfolio. So I
Mm,
think I already had that mindset of like, displaying and showing what I've done. So I took that after residency and that's what I did. It was pictures, it was graphs, it was charts, it was CMRs completed last year, CMRs completed this year, and showing the difference, showing revenue made. Prescribed Wellness had a pretty cool opioid program, and they were paying pharmacists like $20 a consultation. And
mm,
me and my co-resident, we had come up with a way to create bag tags and create a workflow across all 6 Moose pharmacies to increase the amount of consultations that we're doing for patients taking opioids, people who are at risk for overdose, just educating, asking about side effects, asking about um, you know was the medication working, and then obviously educating on Narcan. So that was a really, really good program, and I was able to have that as one of the things on there. I also did the diabetes prevention program. That was my business plan.
yeah.
Looked for a grant on the North Carolina Department of Health. Randomly one Sunday, just like had it worked on my business plan. I was like, let me just go work on this, and I got to the financial section, and there was a grant due that Friday. There was a grant application deadline that Friday.
Wow.
And I did it that entire week. And I called on a lot of people. I called on Nicole Pizzino. She's the she's a instructor at Wilkes University, and I was like, "You have DPP. How do I do it?" And she told me. And then I worked with Nicole at NCPA, as a speaker. So called on a lot of people that week to get that done. And it's just alignment. I think everything that I do typically it's in alignment with my values and my interests. And at residency graduation, there was somebody told me about an opportunity in like rural North Carolina to work at the pharmacy, but I knew where that was, and I was like, I've been there before, and I passed cotton fields on my way in, and I don't think I want to be that far from a airport either. So, I could have been like, oh, I need a job. Everybody was freaking out at residency graduation. Like, what are you doing next? And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know, but I'm okay. I wasn't freaking out.
Yeah. A good friend of mine recently told me never make a decision when you're stressed, angry, freaking out. Anything that you decide during that moment is probably not going to lead to a really good decision for you or for your future.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's led you to right where you want to be, which is doing this work now full time.
Hmm.
Congratulations. Like to
Thank you.
go from idea to full-time business for yourself, it takes a lot. I know what that journey is like. I flailed for like 5 years before landing on my company, the Happy Farm D. So for you to do it in short amount of time is fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. I did start 2019 though. Okay. So, I
Give
wouldn't
things
say I was
perspective for sure.
flailing. Yeah. Yeah. I did start 2019. We're in 2023 right now. I was doing it on the side. So working 9 to 6 at the pharmacy, coming home, doing calls from 7 to 9. I was getting Blue Apron boxes at that time. So I'll be in the kitchen cooking dinner at 9:30. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous, but that's what you do when you have your side hustle or your nine to
Right.
five and then your 5 to 9, right?
Yeah. What was it like to make the decision that you're going to give this your business, your everything? Was it hard for you to make the decision? Was it something that had been brewing up for, a long time for you?
Yeah, I think it was brewing. I think it was definitely brewing. It was something that honestly it was something that I had to get real with, realizing that it was something that I've always wanted to do.
Mm,
And that I was just, you know, golden handcuffs like you mentioned and just
yeah.
benefits, healthcare, steady paycheck. All of that is comforting and secure, but at the same time, burnout is real, especially during this time. Again, I became a practitioner 2019, so right before
No, you
COVID
got
hit.
it right before when everyone else kind of, oh man, it was hard.
Yes, yes, right before. So there was a lot, and I think I just needed a break, and I think I just needed to realign with my plan A. So again, alignment. I was going to go work somewhere, and I walked past a juice bar, and I went inside because I recognized them from a farmer's market that I typically go to. They make fresh
Yeah.
juice. They were having a workshop in the back, like they had a different person completely having an event in the back, and it was called the Plan A Workshop. And I got this little card, and it said, "What is your plan A?" And I was like, "Well, my plan A used to be my own boss, but I forgot that." So
Mm,
having that reminder helped me to realize, okay, this is actually what I do want. So that was the first step, being reminded of that initial plan, because we all have our ideas of what we want to do, and then reality or other people's perspectives, other people's expectations kind of set in and push us further and further away from that thing that we want to do, but we don't really think that we can do. So you just
yeah.
have to change your mindset. And once I remembered that, that's when I was like, okay, well, that's my plan A. That's what I've always wanted to do. So why haven't I given myself a real chance at trying it completely, 100%?
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I needed.
You know, for the 5 years that I tried different stuff, I kind of had this perspective of I want to try different things. And whatever my newest idea was like the best idea. It was the one that was going to make me successful.
Mhm.
And I realized in the winter of 2016, so like going into 2017, that what was holding me back from really finding momentum with my idea was just a full on commitment. I'm doing this. I'm going to figure it out. And if I fail, well, then I've given it my all. I know
Mm.
that I've tried everything in the toolbox to make it happen. And within about 10 months, I had figured it out while working a full time job, building up the business. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Now it's just a matter of how do I grow this to the point where I have an actual team and all those other things that I've been able to figure out. For you, Was it that workshop that you got recommitted to, like, this vision, or was it a process over time?
It was definitely that workshop. So that workshop was led by she calls herself a creative life coach or a life coach for creatives. Then I had a
Mm,
coaching session with her about a month after. I think I'm like what you call the strong friend, right? So everybody talks to me about their problems and their goals, and I help people figure out, what they want to do. I think pharmacists are great like health coaches, but we're great coaches in general just for helping people with life stuff. So you need somebody to do that for you. So that was my first time having a coach or having a
yeah,
coaching experience. And it really was nice having somebody to talk to about my plan A and how to get there. So that was a part of it. Talking to somebody. And then just realizing like with corporate, with working in corporate. So I transitioned from the independent pharmacy space to the corporate space. Each have their own challenges. Independent pharmacy space, it was working 9 to 6 on my feet, being exhausted, maybe not having that much time for my, after work goals. And then
yeah,
when the vaccines and the boosters came, I was exhausted in every way, mentally, physically, spiritually, everything.
yeah,
From going to, doing prescriptions all day and thinking you're busy to injecting 90 vaccines or something crazy on top of that. And it's like, how do we think we were busy before this if we could also do 80 plus vaccines? It didn't make any sense. It is what we had to do. We did it, but I knew that that was not going to be sustainable for me. So once I heard about the position at NCPA being open, then I was like, okay, I want to transition to something new.
mm,
Corporate has its own challenges as well, right? So I think every business, every employer, every company has its own challenges. And I realized I could leave again and go somewhere else, but who's to say that I'm not going to be met with those same challenges?
yeah,
So there's no like the grass is greener. It's always you're dealing with a boss, you're dealing with other team members, you're dealing with corporate, you're dealing with workplace culture, all these things that are outside of your control. You have no control over those things. You just hope when you go to a new place that all of that is great, but you don't really know. So that's really what it was like, okay, I can keep shifting when I'm feeling like maybe anxious or uncomfortable or burnt out. Or I can just shift to focusing on myself and giving myself a really good, a really good try. Betting on myself was something that I hadn't done fully. So I appreciated the opportunity to do so and the support that I had to do so. I've been
mm,
calling myself a retired pharmacist, but um, I don't, yeah, people laugh when I say that. So I'm like, maybe I'll just, I got to figure out what I'm saying because I might re-enter the workforce. I don't know. I don't necessarily plan to. But I like how it's going right now, at least. But like I said, a lot of pharmacists do that. They exit, they become consultants, and they go back in. There's
yeah.
opportunities. There's big money to be made out there as a pharmacist, obviously. But again, that freedom, I think, as a business owner, doing your own thing is just you can't put a price on that.
It is hard to. I was recently approached by a retail chain recruiter,
Mhm.
and they were offering a $70,000 bonus to
Mhm.
sign on for a role. And I was gonna say no, but I did kind of like a thought experiment, and I just thought, how much money would they need to pay me to take this job? And I kept going higher and higher and higher to the point where I thought there's just no way they would ever pay me the amount of money that I would want in order to go through the stress, the burnout, the physical and mental toll of the job that I knew they wanted me to take to get that amount of money.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's an anomaly really to be a pharmacist all of your career and to retire at age 55, 60, 65, maybe even 70 by the time we get to that age, and to buy a home in Florida and to
Mhm.
have your whole life together. Everything is perfect. That's just not the case. it also makes for a really boring story. Life is messy, and I think it is what you've decided to pursue, although it's not perfect, nor will it ever be, you're making your own dent and your own path in this profession. And I imagine that the impact you're making with the clients you're working with, the people that you work with, feels infinitely more satisfying than, say, working for a job that you've had in the past.
Mhm. Yeah. I would say I think everything has been satisfying.
Mhm.
But you're right. There are drawbacks, there are stressors, there's things that are not under your control. With my clients now, I can choose who I work with. I can choose the projects that I undertake. Whereas before, I was being, told or asked to take on these projects that
Sure.
I didn't have time or space on my plate to take on, right?
Mm.
So even though I might not have space on my plate now to take on these these new things either, I know I can try to be better at outsourcing and
Yeah.
getting help. So that's the next step with my business. But yeah, I'm working with some really cool clients right now. So I've gotten into the book marketing space. So I have Dr. Rosalind C. King. She's an 85-year-old retired pharmacist who wrote a book about her career in global health, her work overseas, and it's like she's a pharmacy giant in my eyes, and it's an honor to work with her to help get the word out about her book. Working on another project about with an author who wrote a book about a Muslim superhero, and it's like representation matters. So there's like a message there. There's a purpose there. And then my
Mhm.
work with Horace too. His work in with his business TCQ Consulting, working with pharma companies to help make sure that they are inserting strategy for their products that are coming to market that includes health equity, patient centeredness, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So all of these different themes throughout my clients that I'm working with, it's like everything has a purpose, has a reason. Some businesses, some companies, they just do stuff to do stuff. Like we have to do this, so let's just do it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like a lot of people can get burnt out or just not even try to be innovative anymore. And that's what I realized. If I'm not trying to be innovative or come up with new and creative ways to do things, it's not really a space for me because I'm not the kind of
Yeah.
person where I need to just be given stuff to do. I'm gonna do it well, but I really enjoy coming up with new things. That's the magic in I think existing and living, being able to think about something and literally creating it and seeing it come to life, and you just need time to be able to do that. You need freedom. I'm working with a lot of associations and organizations now, the National Pharmaceutical Association. I'm the Zone 2 director. So just being able to have those engagements with those members and do the monthly webinars and just share information and connect. Again, after COVID, uh, connection is what I feel like a lot of people needed. And we think
Yeah.
about anxiety, depression, burnout. You're just working, working, working. Where's the joy in your life? Where's the connection in your life? So I'm glad I have that connection back association, um, through an association like the National Pharmaceutical Association. But also, I was just at the NCPA conference last month or earlier this month, so I still have those connections that are important to me. And it's
Mhm.
never burned bridges. It's always, it's always a see you later. I'm transitioning, but I'm always going to be around. I'm always here to help. Um, there's no bad blood.
Mm. Wonderful. If you could go back in time and talk to Shantel, who was just getting all of this started, what do you wish you could go back and tell her?
Um, that's a good question. I would tell her to don't um don't waste too much time worrying about the failures or the things that don't work.
Yeah.
Don't waste too much time worrying about naysayers or people doubting you. Just stay focused, keep the faith, and keep doing the things that feel right to you.
I love connecting with people like Shantel. Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, but sometimes maybe it's just about getting something started on the side. It's always great to have another source of revenue. It's, hey, why not pay down your loans faster, or come up with the money to go to a trip somewhere, a cruise, Europe, who knows what you want. But if that is something that you're interested in, I would love to talk with you. We are doing lots of consultations lately with pharmacists looking to make either their financial goals happen through side hustling. And that's anything from doing clinical consulting, marketing consulting like Shantel, or just coming up with a brand new idea or growing what you have to the next level. I would love to talk with you about this. You can do so by clicking a link somewhere in our description. We'd love to chat with you and learn more about where you're at in this process and what we could do to jumpstart your journey towards entrepreneurship or growing what you currently have to maybe even becoming your full-time pursuit. Thank you for listening to this episode of our podcast. Let us know what you think of it, how you enjoyed the story, what feedback you have for us. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And until we see you in the next episode, take care.